In 4.92, we're talking about insurance fires. So they have their entire population of all the homeowners. They found out that on average, the fires are going to cost $300 with a standard deviation of $400. And it tells us that each fire should be independent of the next fire, or at least the loss from it, which makes sense in most cases. A fire at one house shouldn't affect the fire at another house. And it says find the mean and standard deviation of the average loss of 10 fires. Okay, now that might seem slightly confusing. So let's start with, what do we expect it to be for the total of 10 fires? So the total for 10 fires, let's call x equals 1 fire, is we'd have to do the first fire plus the second fire plus up to the 10th fire. Now notice this is not the same thing as timesing one fire by 10, but we have 10 different fires and each one is going to cost a little bit different, and so we do need to add up 10 different values. So we're adding up these values. So now let's find the mean. Let's call T as the total for adding all those up. So the mean for the total of adding all of those up would be, well, just do the mean of the first one plus the mean of the second one plus up until you get to the mean of the last one. And each mean is 300. So it's going to be 300 plus up to 300, and we're going to do that 10 times, so 10 times 300 equals 3,000. Now the standard deviation for that, well, we don't actually have a formula to find the standard deviation, so we need to do an intermediate step by finding the variance for the total, because you'll just do the variance of the first one plus the variance of the second one plus up to the variance of the 10th one, or 10 times whatever that variance was. We didn't actually find the variance. Let's come back up here. If my standard deviation was 400, then my variance would be 400 squared, or 160,000. So 10 times 160,000, which does give me 1,600,000. Now for the standard deviation of the total, for the standard deviation, if we take the square root of the variance, we get 1,265. So that's the standard deviation of the total. Now that's kind of intermediate stuff. That's not what they've really asked us to find. They asked us to find the standard deviation and expected value for the average. Well, how do you find the average of 10 fires? The average of 10 fires, let's just call this A, is you would have to do each one, oh, that should be next 3, and divide by how many there are. Or, depending on how you're doing this, you could do just the total over 10, since we've already done all of our work up above. Okay, so let's find the mean for the average. So the mean for the average would be the mean for this total over 10. So when you're dividing something by 10, you do the old average. So the average for the total was 3,000 divided by 10, which puts us back to 300. Notice how that's the same thing we originally had. So your mean for your average will always be the same as the mean for like your individual values, which is pretty cool. Now the standard deviation for the average is the standard deviation of the total over 10. And that dividing by 10 means you can just bring that out. So it will be 1 over 10 times the standard deviation of the total. Standard deviation of the total is 1,265. Divide that by 10. And you get $126.50 as your standard deviation for the average. Now you can go ahead and do this exact same process for 12 fires.